And so for a school like Cincinnati to take that initiative and be like, no, if we're going to get a player like this, you want to, number one, you want to protect your assets. But number two, if you're going to lose them, you may as well get something out of it. And so I think this is the first step in the direction of schools actually figuring out a way to not necessarily punish the players that, at least at the very least, hold them accountable. Because that, in my mind, Ryan, is the biggest issue. It's not that they want to go to a bigger school. You understand if you're a mid-major. You understand if you're something like even a MAC school or a Big South school. These players are going to leave if they have a chance to go leave and play more significant minutes on a bigger team. But what do you get out of it when you're spending the amount of money that you're spending on them? Because if not, then you're just throwing that money away, right? Like you just handed this large amount after they signed on the dotted line, and now they're just going to run away with your money, right? It's no different than the person who walks into like the meat market and goes, hey, can I have a sample of that? Cool, thanks. And then they turn around and walk out of the store. Like, it's like, hey, like you can't just take stuff for free and not buy anything, right? That you can't just come to our school and sign on the dotted line and go, hey, thanks for my money. I'm going to go peace out and play for this school. I'm absolutely for it.
So if I'm a smaller school, and if I'm looking at both situations, if I'm Duke, first off, when I'm doing what the source, maybe Sorsby signed a contract with Cincinnati to stay. We don't know, but if there's a clause in it, maybe that's a way that you can retain some of your players by having a buyout, a release clause, whatever you want to call it. Yep. So if I'm Duke, I'm putting a buyout clause with Darian Mensah. If I'm Washington, I'm putting a buyout clause with Damon Williams if they really are getting tampered with and want to go. But the thing is the buyout clause has to be way more than what the value of your player is, because obviously you want to keep the player. So that's
what we see in professional soccer. If we want to draw a comparison between like international soccer, like the buyouts for a lot of these players is quite significant.
Yeah,
quite significant.
I was gonna go. That way, but I'm trying to find Darian Mensah's transfer value. So it's apparently averaging about $4 million. Damn, Mensah's making $4 million a year. So if I'm $4 million a year, I'm putting the value at like $6 million. $6 million is the buyout. Yeah. You can have them. You got to pay $6 million, which is a luxury price in terms of quarterbacks. I still think at some point the bubble's got to pop on this whole NIL thing.
It will. Yeah.
But I would say is you have to put a buyout clause. But if I am a small school, like if I'm a MAC school, like you mentioned, I'm having if they're an incoming freshman, I'm having them sign a 3-year contract. I'm having them sign a 3-year contract. Look, we'll pay you this. It increases every single year, but you are going to have a buyout clause where if you want to go to a different school, you will have to be bought out by another team. Like you introduce this during the recruiting process because, look, we're losing money. We got to have value for some of our players, but you are going to have at the end of the 4 years, sure, you can leave, but at the same time, you're still getting 3 years out of that player. Yeah. 3 years, and you get eventually bought out because eventually you kind of keep them there for a time that you need, but you also give them a time where it feels like, oh, I can still leave after a couple of years and still get, my money's worth. And then if I'm bringing an incoming transfer from a Power 4 school, I'm like 2-year contract because after that first year, you bet your ass they're going to try to transfer out again. Yeah. And at that point, I'm putting up. I go 2-year contract. There's a buyout clause. It increases from year 1 to year 2, but you got to get some money out of it. For Darian Mensah's case, look, dude. I get it. You want to go to Miami. I get it. It's also Miami's fault for not having a quarterback post Carson Beck, but that's another discussion. But if you're Mensah, look, dude, you are violating a lawsuit. Like, you are going to – it eventually might cost you way more money than you're actually earning. So just stay at Duke, make your money. You still had an impressive year, over 3,000 yards, I think 30-ish touchdowns. So if that's the case, you just won the ACC, just stick it out. He played well against some of the decent teams, but just I don't think these people realize. I don't think these kids realize, Nate, that like there's legal action. Like I feel like they're just like money.
Well,
money.
And it's because the donors are the ones that are paying the money. Like this is a lot of the money that is coming for these players is not coming from the schools directly. So how can you have any sort of legal representation that's going to hold these kids accountable if the money is not coming from the school itself? It's coming from donors, it's coming from backdoor deals, it's coming from the owner of Oracle whose wife happened to go to the University of
We love her,
Michigan, who was
though.
able to work out. We do love her. Well, we'll see if we love her depending on how,
Yeah.
next year goes under Kyle Winningham. But that's the hard part. And when I say Wild West, that's exactly what I mean. This money is not flowing from the schools itself, it's flowing from donors. Donors are the ones that are making these decisions with the money. So it's up to the donor. If you want to have legal representation in order to make sure that you're holding these players accountable, then that's their decision. But it's hard for a school to come into the conversation and be like, hey, we had you sign this contract. Well, yeah, but you're not where the money's coming from. So this is where, when we talk about mixing this around, or at least changing the way that this is done, if you want to make sure that at least a portion, if not a large portion of that money is actually funneled through the school, then yeah, they can get legal representation and they can create things like massive buyouts that if another team wants to swoop in and say, hey, we're going to pluck this player from your program, well, no, we paid him X amount. He signed on the dotted line. He signed a 2-3 year contract with our school to play football. Again, much like an organization in the NFL would do so. So if he wants to transfer out or if he wants to go somewhere else, here are all the hoops, here are all the things he has to go through in order to make that happen. But if we're just allowing wealthy donors to just spend as much money as they humanly want to, that creates a completely different situation. If Bryce Underwood was not making over $10 million, I'm telling you right now, Ryan, he would have transferred out. He probably would be back at LSU right now or somewhere else along the line.
I think it also might depend if Sharon's still a coach, because there was no coaching. And clearly with the Utah staff and the offense that they did with Dampier, I'd imagine that might get him to stay a little bit. And, I mean, would you want to go from Sharon Moore to Lane Kiffin in terms of coaches and all the off-the-field stuff? Would you?
Oh, man, Lane Kiffin's won a lot. It's LSU. I mean, it's they can't do anything without inviting some level of controversy. But no, you're correct. And so that's just the thing that makes all of this screwy. It's like I'm all for the school standing up for themselves. But again, the money is not flowing from the school.
Like if
go ahead.
If we're looking at all these smaller schools, like Utah, just not even smaller schools. Let's take the Power 4 example right now. Utah, for example, Ole Miss. Like if we're looking at Utah and Ole Miss, two programs that had really good Ole Miss, really good season. Utah, better season than it was the year prior. They still won 10 games. They went from 5 wins to 10 wins. Excuse me. But you look at it, and what happened? They lost their head coach, and he took the whole staff with him. He brought his offensive coordinator, his quarterback coach, offensive line coach, linebackers coach, tight ends coach. He brought all that. Oh, and guess what? You know what? We know what else we're gonna do? We're going to take your best defensive player on the D-line. We're going to take a D tackle in your rotation. We're going to take your best offensive wide receiver, and we're going to take your best corner. We're going to do all that. And how much money did you make off all that?
Zero. Zilch.